Happy Monday, everybody. My name's Jillian, and I'm going to talk to you about intermittent fasting and why people do it, and maybe dispel some of the myths that that are out there about fasting in general, and some of the things that you've probably been taught forever and ever and ever about why we don't skip meals, why we don't fast, why we don't go all day without eating, and all that fun stuff. Because I realize that I keep saying, I bring up intermittent fasting here and there, and then I say, but that's for another live, and then I've not actually gotten to the other live about intermittent fasting. So I'm gonna actually get to that today. And I'm doing another live from my car because I have realized when I get home from work, there is a minimum of 4 to 6 children in my house these days during the summer. So it's just not going to happen if I wait till I get home. So I'll get into it. So first I'll talk about why intermittent fasting, and then I'll give you a few things that hold people back from even considering it because of reasons why you've been told not to skip meals, and even reasons why I have taught people and still teach people not to skip meals. So the intermittent fasting has come about and become more popular. It's kind of like, I feel like right now everybody's either doing keto diet or intermittent fasting. If you're not doing keto, you're doing intermittent fasting, or maybe you're doing both. And the reason for the intermittent fasting primarily, or at least if you don't know, and if you're doing it and you don't know why, or you haven't considered it, it's because it has been viewed as maybe a sort of cure for, or at least kind of I don't want to say cure, I don't want to use the word cure, but definitely a diet that can really improve insulin resistance. Now, we know that one of the biggest things that can help insulin resistance is weight loss. But intermittent fasting is kind of like the diet that addresses insulin resistance directly, not indirectly, which weight loss indirectly addresses it. And if you're not really familiar with what insulin resistance is, it's really where your body's just not using insulin very well. And it's kind of like the best way I can describe it is we all kind of identify with antibiotic resistance. We take too many antibiotics and it doesn't work as well, so then we have to take more antibiotics. And it's kind of like if you've ever been in that rut where you get sick, you take antibiotics, you can't get rid of the infection, so then you have to take more antibiotics, you have to take another type of antibiotics, and you end up just needing more and more and more because you're so resistant to the antibiotics. And now we know that there's even certain super infections that are resistant to antibiotics. It's kind of like that in your body with insulin, where your body has now become very resistant to insulin. So when you eat certain types of food, primarily sugars and processed foods, it has to produce a lot more insulin than the average person to use the insulin that it has. And the problem with that is that, one, insulin just causes weight gain. So it's a very weight gain, fat storage promoting type hormone. And two, eventually your pancreas that produces the insulin, it putters out and it does give up. And that's where you see people with full-blown diabetes, and even worse down the line, they actually have to take insulin injections. And then we're talking about, you can forget about trying to lose weight because now you're just gaining weight. And that becomes a really vicious, horrible cycle. So why intermittent fasting? How would that even help? Well, what they have found, hey Michelle, is that if you, one of the things that can really hinder insulin resistance, or just not hinder it, actually cause it, is the idea that we need to be eating all the time. And if we continue to eat, and we need to be, because, we've been taught 6 small meals a day, don't go more than so many hours without eating or you're going to get too hungry. So we need to be eating all the time. And it's that persistent food influx, constantly eating, that you're constantly telling your pancreas to shoot out insulin. So that the more insulin you have, the more resistant you're becoming to it if you already have it. Now, if you don't have it, you're not going to give yourself insulin resistance. But if you do, the last thing you need to be doing is eating all the time. And it's kind of funny because we've been telling people with diabetes for years not to eat snacks, that it's actually better to not eat snacks for this very reason. The other thing is, I've talked about this before, the low-fat diet movement, low-fat, high carbs. So now you've been told to eat the low-fat foods that are higher in sugar, higher in carbs, and to eat often. So now you're eating 6 small meals a day, and you're eating foods that already promote insulin secretion. So it's making the problem worse. So where intermittent fasting has come along is that they found, you need to give your body a reason to stop producing so much dang insulin. And you can do it in one of 2 ways, generally speaking. Some people pick a time frame each day, generally like 8 to 12 hours or so, where you don't eat anything of any calories at all. So, I've seen a lot of people maybe they eat an early dinner around 5 or 6 o'clock, and then they cut it off and they don't eat anything until about 11 o'clock the next day. Kind of makes sense because it's easy, you're sleeping most of the time, but you're really strict and you don't even have chewing gum, like no calories at all. And then they do that every single day, and that's your fasting. And then other people find it works better for them if every 3rd day they fast for 24 hours, or maybe just once a week they fast, and you kind of work out what's best for you. But the idea is you are giving your body a reason to utilize your glucose stores and not shoot out so much insulin for a certain period of time on a regular basis. Now, where people get hung up is, I've been told I can't go a certain period of time without eating because if I do, my metabolism's going to slow down and then it's going to store all these calories when I do eat. And that's not true. It will happen if you are the kind of person that you skip breakfast every day, and you eat lunch, and you eat a snack maybe at 10 o'clock, and then you eat lunch, and you overeat lunch, and and then you kind of, what a lot of people do is they skip breakfast, they eat lunch, maybe a light lunch, and then they overeat dinner, and then they eat all night into the evening hours while they're watching TV, and then they wake up and they're not hungry for breakfast, and then they do the vicious cycle. Eat lunch, maybe a light lunch, get home, start snacking, eat a big dinner, snack all night, and this vicious cycle repeats. Yeah, that's probably not going to help you, and your metabolism isn't going to like that at all, and that's not going to help insulin resistance. That's still going to cause the influx. So you really do have to be stringent with yourself that when it's time to eat again, you eat a regular meal, you eat a normal meal, and you don't overeat. So it's not, I'm going to fast, and now that I did so well not eating, I'm going to overeat and make up for all the lost time. You can't do that. So you do have to eat and be committed to a healthy, whether, I recommend a Mediterranean style diet, or, some people do keto style diet, which I think is good. It's not for me personally. But if you can do that, you're not gonna slow down your metabolism, and it's not all gonna be, you don't have to eat all the time. Now, if you don't think that's for you, and you don't think that you realistically could do that, then you probably want to go a different route. The other thing that people get worried about is that they're going to be starving and they're going to be really hungry. which might be true. You may be hungry. If you go 12 hours or 24 hours without eating, you might be hungry. It might be this is why some people fast overnight. Some people fast for shorter periods of time. The idea is that you do it consistently. You have to figure out what works for you, whether you're doing it one day a week, or you're doing it every single day, or you're doing it every third day. And you have to figure out how many hours you can do it, so that when you do eat, you don't eat the doorknob in the house and everything that's in front of you, because if you do that, then you're defeating the purpose and it's not going to work. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight on why people do it and how to do it, so that if you did decide that you do it for what it's for, and you do it right and actually get results out of it. So if you've tried it before, let me know. Let me know what your schedule's like. I'm always curious to see how people work this out in their life, especially if you work, because it is kind of difficult when you have to go and be around other humans and not eat. But you can have black coffee and you can have water, and but that's kind of it. You can't have any calories. So there you go. Anyways, have a great rest of your Monday, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for coming on, and I will see you next time.